So let's take a look at the box office from this past weekend. Total gross domestically for the weekend was $86 million, so it was about a 37% drop from last weekend, which was semi to be expected since Godzilla X Kong, which still is here at number one, as you can see, made so much money last week that it's not surprising that the whole box office would kind of drop a little bit, but there was a drop, right? So in terms of things opening this week, so at number 2, so not even taking number 1 spot, at number 2 we have Monkey Man, the Dev Patel kind of action film that was originally going to be a Netflix film, and then they were going to cancel it, and Jordan Peele kind of swooped in and was like, no, I'll help distribute this in theaters or whatever. Only making about $10 million, and unless my projections that I found were wrong, it was projected around $13 to $21 million. So this is definitely a little disappointing. If you're Dev Patel, who's not only in the film but also is like the director. I believe, from what I read correctly, he basically like conceived of and produced and directed this movie because he was like, I want to be an action star and I'm not getting cast as an action star, so I'm just gonna make my own opportunity, right? But hasn't, again, like I said, kind of fell below those projections, so that's a little disappointing. It was made for about $10 million, and it's grossed about $13 million worldwide. So, like I've said before, usually you need to make about double your budget in order to break even because the budget doesn't include, like, advertising and marketing costs. So, again, it'll be interesting to see if maybe this gets some word of mouth and kind of continues on. But again, like I've been saying the past couple of weeks, like now that we're in April, it started in March, but now that we're in April, it's just going to get very crowded in terms of not only just lots of films coming out, but like really, really big blockbusters. Like from April-ish to maybe July is like when all the really, really big movies of the year are coming out. Save for maybe like the Christmas season. So it'll be interesting to see if Monkey Man can build up enough word of mouth. A movie I really hope gets some good word of mouth is the first Omen, coming in at number 4, only making about $8.4 million, and it was projected around 8 to 13, so it just barely squeaked into those projections. I saw this weekend. This is like a prequel to the 1976 horror film The Omen, so this is the first Omen. And this was a surprise gem. I'm gonna write a review on it. You should all go check that out at cinemacuso.substack.com, but it was surprisingly really great, actually, and my Letterboxd review was Catholic horror is the best horror, and that is so true. It's not perfect, but it kind of just crosses off all the boxes that I need in a horror movie like this, so I found it really compelling, and hopefully it's able to do a little bit better in the coming weeks, but probably not, unfortunately. And I would love to see a sequel, but again, it probably won't do super well. It was made for about $30 million, right? So, Monkey Man was a little disappointing, but it wasn't as expensive. Whereas this, you're still much below that initial budget. And it's made about $17 million worldwide, so it has a long way to go to break even on that. And then also premiering this weekend, we had number 7, Someone Like You, bringing in about $3 million. I really could not find like any information about this movie. It seems to be like an adaptation of like a kind of, trashy's the wrong word, but kind of just like a romance novel, like that you would find, like not Nicholas Sparks, but like maybe like one step below that, right? So that was something that opened up. In terms of films continuing this week, we, again, like I was saying before, staying in number 1, holding that first place spot in its second week is Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, bringing in about $32 million for the weekend. So even though it held that first spot, it dropped like 60%. So, it's obviously, everyone who wanted to see it, I think, has gone to see it, right? And also the word of mouth hasn't been like great in terms of like reviews and like fan reception. I think just general audiences are like, oh, that's fun, but it's not something that people want to keep going back to over and over. So far it's made about $135 million domestically, $361 million worldwide, off of a $135 to $150 million budget. So it's definitely crossed that threshold, like I've talked about, to kind of break even. It'll just be interesting to see how far can it go, right? This is not looking good in terms of just that initial drop. But hey, movies have big drops and then kind of hold steady, so who knows? We'll have to see. Also continuing this in its second weekend is a film, Wicked Little Letters. And if you watch this show weekly, you might be wondering, wait, this film wasn't even in the top 10. So last week. So how is it now at number 8? So it had a very limited opening. So a lot of times these indie films will open in just like 4 or 5 theaters for like an opening weekend or even a first couple of weekends, and then go wide, right? It'll expand its distribution. So this was originally only screening in like 4 or 5 theaters, and now it's in like over 1,000 theaters, right? So it was like it's like almost a 2,000% jump in terms of the amount of money that it made, and it jumped from 26th place to 8th, right? So it now is in the top 10. Probably won't stay in the top 10 again, just like we've talked about with all the competition and things like that. So it's made about 1.7 million domestically, but it's made 16 million worldwide. So from my understanding, this has had it's like a British film, so I would imagine that it's had a much longer and wider distribution in like the UK or other markets like that. It was made for about $13 million. So, you know, this could end up being, again, films like this aren't made to make a shit ton of money. So, you know, who's to say what kind of success it'll have? Just a few other notes here. Films that have now gone past like that month and are still in the top 10. We have Kung Fu Panda 4 at number 5, bringing in 7.9 million for the weekend. It dropped from 4th to 5th, and only a 24% drop, so it's holding decently. It's made about 166 million domestically and 410 million worldwide, off of an $85 million budget. So this has definitely been a win for DreamWorks and Universal. Disappointingly, Dune last weekend, Dune, and for a few weeks now, Dune was at the top, and then Kung Fu Panda unseated it, and they've kind of been doing this, you know, for the past couple weeks. Now we're back to something like this, where Dune is now below Kung Fu Panda at number 6, bringing in 7.2 million for the weekend, dropped from 3rd to 6th. 3rd to 6th, again, being knocked out by things like Godzilla and the Ghostbusters film and Monkey Man and First Omen, right? But so far it's made about 265 million domestically and 661 million worldwide, off of just a $190 million budget. So it's definitely made back its money. It'll just be interesting to see, and I feel like I say this every week, but this could be something that I don't know if we're going to see those huge gains anymore. Like at this point, like those domestic and worldwide totals are going to more or less be what they are in terms of like magnitude. But it'll be interesting to see if week after week it's able to still just bring in maybe like $5 million, $6 million. You know, the way something like Wonka did, where it was in the top 10 for like 3 months, right? And I believe Dune at this point's already made more than Wonka ever did in those, like, you know, in those 12 weeks in the top 10. This has made more than that in just 6 weeks. So I could see this could maybe have some staying power, but I don't see it going above 700. Maybe a little bit over 700 million, but certainly not over 750 worldwide. I think I actually just saw that IMAX announced that they're like doing kind of like an extended IMAX run for it, so that'll certainly help with the box office for sure.